Hello, mathematicians. Welcome back to Number Corner. For Number Corner today, we will be working to solve some of our story problems from the last few days. You will need your whiteboard, marker, and eraser to solve these problems with me. If you don't have a whiteboard, remember, a piece of paper and a pencil will work just fine. You can pause the video now to get what you need. We will have 3 more story problems to solve today. Remember, I will read the story problem 2 times. The second time is when I would like you to be writing down an equation that represents our problem. After that, we will work to solve the problem together. Today, we're going to focus on using the open number line to solve our story problems. After we solve these 3 problems, we'll have a look at our calendar grid observation charts and see if there are any patterns that we start to notice. Let's get started. We're going to Australia for our first story problem. I'll read it 2 times. 16 people went to Australia and saw 160 kangaroos hopping in the outback. How many people and kangaroos in all? Think about the equation you will write as I read this for the second time. Think about what the problem wants to know. 16 people went to Australia and saw 160 kangaroos hopping in the outback. How many people and kangaroos in all? Show a connection if your equation looks like this. 16 people plus 160 kangaroos equals how many people and kangaroos all together? Now that we have our equation, how can we solve it? I'll give you a moment to solve it on your own. Then we'll solve it together using the open number line. Now, when I look at this problem, I'm always thinking about, well, what do they want to know? They want to know how much 16 plus 160 equals. Well, I can do that on my open number line. And I want to make this easy, so I'm going to start with the biggest number on my number line. So I don't have to have too many jumps to add the second number. Now I know that 160 plus 10, that's the 10s out of my 16, equals 170. Well, I just have my 1s left. So if I add 6 more, I'll have 176. Show a connection if you got 176 for your answer too. That's good thinking. Let's move on to our next story problem. Erase your boards. For our next problem, we are in Jordan. 17 people went to Jordan and saw some people looking at Petra, one of the ancient wonders of the world. There were 187 people in all. How many people were looking at the wonder of the world? Write your equation as I read this time. What's the problem asking me to do? 17 people went to Jordan and saw some people looking at Petra, one of the ancient wonders of the world. There were 187 people in all. How many people were looking at the wonder of the world? What's missing? What do I need to know? Write your equation. Show a connection if your equation looks something like this. We have 17 people who went to Jordan. Well, they saw some other people looking at Petra. We know that there were 187 people all together. My missing part is the people looking at Petra. Take a moment to solve this problem on your own. Then we'll solve it together with an open number line. Now, when I look at this problem, I know that I need to find the difference between 17 and 187. Well, I can do that by subtracting 17 from 187 to see what I have left. So that's what I'll do on my open number line. So I'll start over on the right side because I'm going to subtract. So I have 187. Well, I know that if I subtract 7 from 187, that I end up at 180. I also know that if I subtract 10 more, that's the 10s in my 17, that I end up at 170. So 17 plus 170 must equal 187. Show a connection if you got this answer in a different way, using a different strategy. Good thinking. All right, mathematicians, let's move on to our last story problem for today. Erase your boards. For our last problem, we are in the Netherlands. Some people went to the Netherlands and saw 180 tulips growing in the fields. There were 198 people and tulips in all. How many people went to the Netherlands? Start writing your equation this time. Some people went to the Netherlands and saw 180 tulips growing in the fields. There were 198 people and tulips in all. How many people went to the Netherlands? Show a connection if your equation looks like this. Some people went to the Netherlands and saw 180 tulips. There were 198 people and tulips in all. What does this problem want to know? What are they asking? If you're thinking, well, they want to know how many people went to the Netherlands, because that's where my empty box is. That part of my equation is missing. Let's use an open number line to see how we can solve that problem. If you would like to use a different strategy, you can use whatever strategy works best for you. Let's solve this problem. So we know that we have 198 people and tulips all together, and just 180 tulips. So the difference between 180 and 198 will tell us how many people there are. So I'm going to draw my open number line. And if I need to find the difference between 180 and 198, well, I can write 180 on one end of my number line and 198 on the other end. Now I know 180 plus 10 will get me to 190. Well, I know if I add 8 more, I will land on 198. 10 plus 8 equals 18. 18 plus 180 equals 198. Show a connection if you got the same answer of 18 people. Good thinking. Before we go today, we're going to have one look at our observation chart. We're looking at something a little different today. Yesterday in Seesaw, I asked you to think about the amount of red that we have in our calendar markers. Today, I want you to look at our story problem equation. Now, we've looked at this column before. I want you to look at it again. And I want you to think, do you see any patterns? Look at our red numbers. Our red numbers are our missing pieces, our missing parts of our problem. What do you notice about the red numbers? What do you notice about the numbers that are being added together in each equation? What do you notice about our add-ins? What do you notice about our sums? What do you notice as you go down the column and look at each different equation? What patterns do you see? I want you in Seesaw to tell about one pattern you see or one thing you notice about our story problem equations. Good work today, mathematicians. I will see you next time for Number Corner.